Hi everybody, glad you could join us for yet another edition of Roundball Digest. I'm Connie Costanzo, pleased to be with in our WYLN studios, Fran Libinati, and of course the Hazleton area boys basketball coach, Bruce Leib. Fran, last time we talked, Hazleton area had just come off a difficult loss at Valley West. However, since then, 2 wins, and Hazleton area now, right now, tied for first place with only 1 loss in the second half.
Exactly, 2 quality opponents too, Connie. The fact Crestwood and Tunkhannock was beaten until Tuesday night, until the Cougars went up and were able to defeat them. But getting back to the Crestwood game, a lot of people talk about, well, the fact that Coach Leib likes to stress defense. And I think that night, if I recall, at the end of 3 quarters, Crestwood had like 16 points. That is score a flurry of 3-pointers to just get over 30 points. Now you say, well, is it Crestwood? Crestwood, of course, you and I know, beat Wyoming Valley West in the first half, and they scored 70 points or more several times. So I think really when the coaches talked about, he emphasized defense. And the same thing, Tuesday night, Tunkhannock, they don't break 40 points. And this is a team, again, that was unbeaten until the Cougars went up here. So I think he said before his success, he likes to start the defense. He has to feel good about those 2 performances.
Well, let's find out. Do you feel good about these 2 performances?
I am here, yes, thank you. No, Mr. Libinati makes a great point, but we do stress defense, especially when we go up to Tunkhannock and shoot like under 40%. If you're not playing defense, you're going to lose the ball game. We shot very well against Crestwood and also played good defense, except for the last quarter when the subs were in. They hit about 3 threes. And, you know, the subs, we treat the subs just like we treat the starters. Hey, guys, you got to get out on the shooters also, et cetera. So, mixed up our defense a little bit more at Tunkhannock. I thought we had to get some action going on offense. We got off to a very slow start up there, and we were backpedaling, as Connie would like to say, and we came back in the second half and did a pretty good job.
I don't know that that's a cliche I've used. Maybe I will.
Swimming upstream, backpedaling, you've used it. But go ahead.
I have used it. Yeah. Okay. I'll have to look back at some of our tapes. We will look back at the Crestwood game in just a couple of moments, but first, this time out. Back here on Roundball Digest, well, let's first talk a little bit about the Crestwood game, and obviously Hazleton area having to play 4 games in 8 days because of the fact that we had some snow on Friday night. The game was moved to Saturday. You've been a coach. You know that when you have to play that amount of games in that amount of days, that's awfully difficult. And, of course, Hazleton area has played 2 of those 4.
Yeah, that's true, Connie. But again, I think what Coach Leib had mentioned before, the fact that he's been in a couple of tournaments over Christmas where I think the kids are used to going back to back. He's a veteran coach. He knows what to do in between the practice sessions on that. And again, because he has such a solid defense, I think that really takes the pressure off. He showed it Tuesday night at Tunkhannock. You know, for a Hazleton team, shot poorly, yet with a pretty nice victory against a tough team away from home. So I think that it starts with the defense, and the fact that he's also rotated 8 or 9 players, I think he stays away from the fatigue factor.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you about the fact when you play that many games in that many days, how does that affect the team?
Well, I think they would rather play than practice. I mean, our practices are pretty tough, and we work them pretty hard. Of course, you know, before game days we don't go long, but we always do something, and we're always going through fundamentals. And I think it's more fun for kids to play games, I mean, than practice. So they love playing. I mean, we play tonight. We have a tough game tonight on the road at Berwick. So you know, hey, then we come back Saturday at home with Hoban. So we're, you know, figure that out in the last 2 weeks. How many games? I mean, we've really been playing a lot of basketball games. That's what the kids practice for. They want to play in the games.
I just was going to add something. That is exactly right, because I coached Mr. Leib when he was in high school, and I also as a player, you only play 32 minutes. That's if you play every minute of the game. Most players don't play 32 minutes, so you're looking at maybe 28. His practices, it's very regimented, so many times you're going to go way beyond that. Mm-hmm. So you're right, the youngsters look forward to the game, and it's almost like a night off. You're having a lot of fun, you're playing, and you're developing those skills that he's worked on at practice, so they probably look forward to the game.
I want to put you in a hypothetical situation. Your team has now dropped a game on the road against a very good team. The next game out, you as a coach want to see an outstanding performance early in the ball game so that those cobwebs are gone. And to take a look at what Hazleton area is doing, lost a tough game at Valley West. The first quarter really played very well against Crestwood.
Yeah, he normally does that. I think that's the old story again with adjustments. I know that the coach has lost very, very seldom throughout his career, but there's an old adage that sometimes you learn more from a defeat than from a victory. Now, in his case, he's learned from victories because he's had so many of them. But I think you sit back and you're exactly right. And to really shackle that Crestwood team that was healthy this time, I think showed that, again, the Cougars are going to have to be looked at throughout the rest of the second half.
Matt Tucker played well in this ball game. Can you talk a little bit about his play against the Comets?
Well, I think the key for Matt is to stay out of foul trouble. He was in foul trouble against Valley West, and obviously didn't produce because he was on the bench. When he went in, he was tentative about getting his third and then fourth foul, and of course he did foul out of the game. Comes back real strong against Crestwood, and very, very strong, obviously the game after at Tunkhannock.
Tell us a little bit more about what you were happy with. Obviously, you were happy to get the win. What else were you happy with as far as maybe some individual performances?
Well, again, Matt in both games scored. He shot the ball very well, hit the boards well. Michael Barletta had 6 assists in the Crestwood game. And for a kid that comes off a game against Valley West, with 22 points, even in a loss, he comes back drawing a little double coverage off their man-to-man. And gives up, 6 clean assists. That's 12 points right there. Only scores 2. So we need that. We need that kind of unselfish play. And Michael plays as hard as anybody I've coached. He's a 100%er all the time.
Mm-hmm. The next game for Hazleton area was a trek to Tunkhannock to take on the Tigers. And unfortunately, unlike the Crestwood game, Coach, the first quarter, the first half of the ball game, first quarter specifically, Tunkhannock won the first quarter. They had a 7-0 lead early. They were winning 14-7, but that second quarter kicks in and boom, Hazleton area's got the lead and control the basketball.
That's exactly right. I think a lot of times, and I guess the coach could comment on this, Tunkhannock's been a pretty difficult place, even though I don't think Hazleton has ever lost, Hazleton area has ever lost to Tunkhannock. But away from home, there's always been some tough games up there, and I think that happens a lot of times to teams. You go to a specific place. I've been up there, see a game a few times, and it seems like it's a difficult gym in which to shoot the ball. I mean, people say, well, that sounds ridiculous because it's basically same dimensions, the basket's the same height and everything, but it's a tough place to score, and that's where the defense, again, as you said, kicked in, because that's the constant. You'll hear that time and time again from coaches. We don't know if you're going to shoot that well tonight. The one thing we do know is the defense, and his defense has been exceptional.
What about the gymnasium at Tunkhannock Area High School?
The lighting is really strange. It's almost like a yellow tint when you come into the gym. Kids have complained about it. Actually brought the attention to myself about the lighting, and it's not the greatest gym for shooting because of it. I think it's just a different place. It's the longest ride also, a good hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes. We got home, well after 11 o'clock at night, and so it's a tough trip. I mean, if the schedule makers would hold those games on the weekends for us, for Tunkhannock coming down, us going up like we've asked, maybe Mr. Libanati, when he goes to the next principals meeting, could throw that around. We've been asking that for the 13 years I've been in the league. It's never been done. That's for us, Tunkhannock and Hazleton. It's really a long trip on a school night.
It's got to take a lot out of the players as well, knowing that next morning they've got to be up bright and early for
especially
school.
On a school bus.
Yep.
I think maybe just to buttress that, the JVs lost their first game of the year up there, and I think that's support just what Coach has stated, that it's a tough situation, it's a long trip, and.
But I have to say, and again, probably shouldn't, but Mo and Larry reffed that game. Curly was not there, the JV game. You had to see it to believe it.
So that the two of the three Stooges were
I don't know
there.
if I'm going to get in trouble for that, but it was a very poorly officiated game.
No truth to the rumor.
I usually hold back, my feelings, but this time I'm going to let it out.
No truth to the rumor that Shemp was also officiating this game. Only Larry and Curly were at
That was in the JV game.
In the JV game. Yeah. Okay. We'll clarify that. We'll talk a little bit more about the Tunkhannock area game as well, and also look forward to Hazleton area's next couple of opponents. Oh, by the way, here is a look at a couple of opponents that Hazleton area will be taking on in the next couple of weeks. They take on Berwick on the 29th, and we're back here on Roundball Digest after this. Back here on Roundball Digest, thanks for joining us here on WYLN with Fran Libanati and Bruce Leib, talking a little bit about the Hazleton area win at Tunkhannock. And first off, let's talk a little bit. Coach, I want to ask you this. Second half, you go from the matchup zone to a little bit of man-to-man defense. Can you explain the reasoning why the change?
Yeah, in fact, I wanted to start in man. I said, let's try matchup, one more shot, see what they're doing, because we're going to come back to it. But I thought we were getting a little stagnant standing around. Man-to-man defense is basically the matchup on the ball side. We were, it got us moving better. I thought it got us picking up their guards, which I thought we were superior than as far as our defense against their ball handling. So it did help us. It also got a little bit more of our running game going. We were getting easier shots. And Matt Tucker was actually hitting his shots, so that helped too.
Talk a little bit about Nathan Mariano. Had a nice game, 8 points, 5 steals defensively, too.
Yeah, he played very well. I was going to bring that up. Nathan in the Tunkhannock game played very well. He kind of came out. It's funny. You go over a couple things, and then they come out and do them. And as a coach, you get frustrated. There were 2 players we wanted to key on, Grigas and Davis. Davis comes out and hits the 3. And I got a little upset at Nathan and watching the film. I mean, he was trying to cover 2 men. So it really wasn't him. He ran over and Kid hit a shot, and he hit a tough shot. He hit 2 of them. Grigas was running the floor and getting behind the defense. I had to get with Matt Tucker and Jonathan Veet on that. But Nathan, he hit a big shot in the first half, and Michael Barletta then hit a major 3 to, instead of going down 5 or 7, we're down 2, going into the halftime locker room. But I thought Nate played a very, very good floor game, defensively and offensively.
Bobby Bryant also had a very nice game. His upside is really high.
Yeah, again, I think what the coach has done this year, and I think that we talk about the last couple of years, and just maybe we can say it publicly, the coaching job he did last year is just phenomenal. When I think of coming back with youngsters who had very little experience, and primarily this year he's used a great number of underclassmen, and Bobby Bryant's another example of that. I think Jonathan Veet, the playing he's done, Chris Leib coming off the bench, and what I like is that he gives the players the opportunity get some of that confidence back. And you're right, last night's performance by Nate Mariano is going to again pay dividends tonight against Berwick, and of course later with the games that are coming up, Hoban and Coughlin still remaining on the schedule. So that's great. He's given enough opportunities for all these guys get into a situation. They're not gun shy. They're able to take the shots. He doesn't pull a thing out, So I think they've been playing exciting basketball, and a lot of the kids who lacked experience have now, of course, gained that.
You said after the Tunkhannock win, we now control our own destiny. That's got to be a good feeling, knowing that if you win out, worst case scenario is that you tie for the second half championship.
Well, it's not going to be easy, but I think we're very capable as a team to win the rest of our games. We have a very tough Berwick team on the road tonight. We play Hoban Saturday. We come back with Pittston and then finish with Coughlin. Pittston on the road, not easy. People are finding that out this half. So we can do it, though. And if we are in charge of our own destiny, if we win each and every game, we're guaranteed to be in a playoff for the league. There's nothing as exciting, other than state play, as a league playoff. It's even more exciting than district play because both schools are there. It's packed. It's at a gym like Wilkes or King's, big house, quote. It's got to be a different gym. It can't be your gym, can't be their gym. And that's what we want for our kids. We've had it every other year. We want it for this team. And these guys are capable.
You talked a little bit about the Berwick game that is coming up in just a couple of days. I've seen Berwick a couple times. It seems like a very intriguing team. First off, they can shoot the lights out against your defense. But I think they're key. If they have one of 2 wild cards, it's Brian Cole inside. Young man, 6'9", I believe he's only a sophomore. If his inside game is working, they're a pretty tough team because they have the inside game with Cole, and they've got some shooters on the outside.
Definitely. I think he's a junior. I hope he is, because I agree. He's getting better. He had 20 in one of the recent games, and he can score. I mean, he's so big and he works real hard. He's a hard-working kid. He doesn't have a lot of weight to him yet, but I like the way he plays. Banyas and Clarko can really shoot the ball. Waltman's a good player. Kiefer, I haven't seen Snowell's name in the paper. I don't know if he's still on their roster or not. I thought he was one of their better athletes.
Yeah, he is still seeing playing time, not starting, but he is. He does occasionally.
His name wasn't in the box score the last game.
I will have to check that. I will definitely research that, and I apologize for not being on top of that. But I do want to ask you a little bit about the shooters for Berwick. This is a team that, as I had mentioned, they've got some real good shooters. Banyas, Calarco. they've got some outstanding players.
I was very much impressed with Snowell, and I'd be interested to see what has happened there, because I think that when Coach Live played them up at Hazelton, that Berwick team, you could see had an awful lot of talent. It's pretty interesting because Berwick away in the second half, Wyoming Valley West away in the second half, Tunkhannock and Pittston, and as the coach mentioned, Pittston's always been tough away, as has Tunkhannock. But Berwick, again, it shows that you had some teams in there we had mentioned at the beginning of the year that could really knock each other off, and over the years, with the exception of Hazelton area. If they don't go undefeated, it's very, very difficult for anybody else to do so. And I think that, with the parity in the league, as Coach said, there's a lot of excitement. Everybody has a shot at that second half title, including Coughlin, with just the one loss, and then they're going to have to come to Hazelton area. But of course, Coach is much more concerned with the 3 games that precede that.
Right, and the next game for Hazelton area up is a game on Saturday night against Bishop Auburn. And we've talked about some players in this conference, but you know what? As Scranton Prep found out last year, Scranton Prep was the #1 team ranked in Double A, took on Bishop Holben, and quite frankly, a game that Scranton Prep probably should have won, but Chet Hine, always one of the best coaches in the area, and the Argents get the win against the #1 team at Double A. A Chet Hine prepared team is always a dangerous team.
Always, and I think that's what the coach understands that, and that's why I don't know if we've ever had really like a letdown. There might have been nights where you're beaten, but it's not because he's ever underestimated his opponent. And you're right. You talk to the coach in the league, I don't want to start mentioning. There's some great ones. I start with Mr. Live, but Chet Hine, of course, comes to mind. John Quinn over the years. They've been excellent coaches who've, primarily when they start the season, we have to beat Hazelton. That's why I think that Coach Live's teams over the years are always the guy that someone is out to get, and for the most part, he's been able to push that opposition back.
Ron Weber, Joe Yashinsky, 2 of the key players for the Argents. Does it start with Weber defensively? Is he the first guy that you want to try to contain?
Weber or Yashinsky inside. Augustine, the point guard, who again, I remember somebody saying something at the Tunkhannock game about Augustine, maybe he got hurt or something, I'm not sure. That's another thing, that's something I have to research, but
yes,
certainly will be researched by Saturday after the, Hoban is scouted tonight. But Augustine's a small, quick point guard who runs the show. It'll be interesting to see if, he's not there. But Weber is their most experienced player back.
And as we mentioned, Hazelton area playing, of the next 8 games, next 8 days, 4 games in this stretch. So obviously this is a very key stretch, and I know we've talked about it a little bit. For the Wyoming Valley Conference Division I, no dominating team, but on any given night, this is the type of season that really either the 8th place team is good enough to knock off the #1 team, and that really makes it for an interesting season.
Exactly. I think that's what has been tremendous interest. And again, when, the big guy, Hazelton area, lost a game or 2, so that means everybody else feels they have a shot. And I think that the coach seems like he's really enjoying this year because, for years it's almost he had to go out and keep from losing because you're always the big guy, and he always had his team so well prepared. This year he has, again, the talent level might not be as strong as it's been in the past. But again, that's where I think the coaching comes in, and he's really gotten everything out of our kids, and it's fun to watch them because you go there and wonder, hey, can we win tonight? And when you do, I think it adds to the excitement. The adrenaline flows.
We've talked a little bit about the league, but these games are also critical for the district playoffs because the regular season games are the only ones that they count. So obviously, every game for you for the rest of the year is critical.
Yeah, we speak a lot about that at practice. It's very tight for districts. There will be 8 teams. Williamsport's already in. They're the only guaranteed team, but it looks like there'll be 3 Lackawanna teams. And there's a nice flavor in there. Besides Scranton this year, I understand Delaware Valley has a real good shot of getting in. I'm not sure if it's Honesdale or the other team. I'm forgetting right now, but right now.
Abington Heights.
Abington Heights, yeah. It would be Abington Heights, it would be Scranton, it would be Delaware Valley if it was today, along with us, Coughlin, Valley West. Williamsport would be the 7th team, and then the 8th team comes from a wild card from either Lackawanna or Valley Conference, and that would be an interesting one. Right now, I think that would be Berwick or possibly a Honesdale. So it's going to be interesting. I agree with Lib. It is exciting. I must admit it. I don't want every game to be close, but it is exciting to be in ball games and have good competition and have our district grow to 8 teams. I hope it continues to grow.
Okay, we've got to take another break, but a reminder coming up here on WYLN, more great high school basketball action. Girls basketball coming up tonight here at 8 between Berwick and Hazelton area. Friday night, Bishop Hannon takes on Scranton from the CYC in Scranton. And then a reminder, Tuesday night, some boys action. Coach set the VCR, Berwick in Wyoming Valley West. And we wrap up this edition of Roundball Digest after this. Ready to wrap up Roundball Digest. You know, those of you who are watching on television at home don't usually see what goes on in between the commercial breaks. Quite a bit of trash talking coming from the left side of this podium.
Far left?
So, yes, far left. So I'm going to go out on a limb right now and say and ask Bruce Live to play me one-on-one at the Hazleton Area Gymnasium. Whether he takes the dare or not, we don't know. Would you like to play me one-on-one? And we will tape it and air it during our final broadcast. Fran Libinati can officiate the game.
Okay.
What are we playing?
We're playing basketball, the sport you coach.
You're serious?
Yes,
I
I
thought
am.
maybe we were going to
One
go
on
ping
one.
pong,
Nope.
little checkers.
Nope. You name the sport, and I'll be there.
Boy, what a challenge, Coach.
I think it's called masochism.
Is that a yes or a no?
Whatever. You want to play?
I want to play you.
We'll do it. It wouldn't be a game. How about we go ping pong, and I'll play you lefty?
I'd beat you playing table tennis or ping
Okay.
pong or whatever you'd like to. Would you like to officiate
Totally
this?
unrehearsed.
Here's
Just
how I-
taking me by shock.
here's
but I
how I
would
wanna
like to
answer that.
appreciate. I
Okay.
would.
Conio has this disease,
Napoleon.
little man's disease.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, we'll find out in a couple of weeks just how good the big guy is at playing basketball.
But I love him.
He's pretty good at coaching it. That'll do it for Roundball Digest. Thanks for joining us. I'm Connie Costanzo for Fran Libinati and Bruce Live. We'll talk to you next
love
week here on Roundball Digest.
God love him.